So, hello everybody, this is Bhante Joe here, and just here at Colonel Danforth Park, and actually found this kind of a very nice secluded space that had never been to before. That's very near the entrance to the park, so I had no idea about that. So thought to record a short video, and so thought that could maybe start with a little bit of meditation. So can lean forward a bit and arch our back, and look about 3 feet in front, and close the eyes. And can spread thoughts of goodwill, wishing may all beings to my right be happy and at ease. May they put in place the causes necessary to be happy and at ease. And we can make our minds infinite, can make them unbounded, all the way to the ends of the universe and beyond. In every dimension, may all beings to my right be happy and at ease. And we can spread thoughts of goodwill to our right hand side and our left hand side. May all beings to my right and my left be happy and at ease. May they put in place the causes necessary to be happy and at ease. And can spread thoughts of goodwill to our right hand side, our left hand side, and in front. May all beings to my right, my left, and in front be happy and at ease. May they put in place the causes necessary to be happy and at ease. And we can make our minds infinite, can make them unbounded, all the way to the ends of the universe and beyond. In every dimension, may all beings to my right, my left, and in front be happy and at ease. and can spread thoughts of goodwill to our right, our left, in front and behind. May all beings in all four directions be happy and at ease. May they put in place the causes necessary to be happy and at ease. And can spread thoughts of goodwill to our right, our left, in front, behind, and above. May all beings in all four directions and above be happy and at ease. And can spread thoughts of goodwill to our right-hand side, our left-hand side, in front, behind, above, below, all around in every direction, everywhere. May all beings all around in every direction, everywhere, be happy and at ease. May they put in place the causes necessary to be happy and at ease. And we can make the mind infinite, can make it unbounded, all the way to the ends of the universe and beyond, in every dimension. May all beings all around everywhere be happy and at ease. And can open our eyes and do a short reflection on the Dhamma. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Tatiyampi Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Tatiyampi Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. So, hope that everybody is having a great day, wherever it might be. And there was a couple weeks ago that somebody asked an interesting question asked an interesting question after meditation. And what they asked was, we were talking a bit about kind of how to kind of get rid of some anxiety. It's better to be in the present moment because the mind can proliferate. And they said, well, is any kind of thinking bad? So, like, if you think at all, think about the past or the future or whatever. It's kind of paraphrased at all. Is this kind of a bad thing? And so, one of the interesting things in the Buddhist teachings is that meditation takes these two, I guess you could call it, like, broad forms. They're not necessarily like hard and fast categories. They kind of overlap, but these are called two broad forms. One type is where we're trying to get our mind to become calm and enter states of peace, which are called the jhanas. And another type, we're actually using kind of thinking, using perception to counter the usual perceptions that one has that cause them to become attached to things, cause them to have kind of delusions. And so, so basically, it depends on the situation, how much thinking a person wants to do or what type of thinking. In general, the kind of, the teachers, the great kind of teachers who have reached the paths and attainments, they recommend trying to, I guess, in general, cultivate what they call samatha first. So, in the classic scheme that the Buddha laid out in the Mahaparinibbana Sutta, right before he died, he kept saying, virtue fortifies concentration, concentration fortifies wisdom, and basically wisdom leads to release, as far as I remember it. And so this kind of concentration tends to come first, tends to be the one that people want to cultivate first. So to cultivate this, a person has to basically stop their mind from thinking. In general, has to kind of make their mind roam around less and just stay focused on one point. It's kind of one thing. It's in and out breaths, the metta meditation, whatever. It's usually this kind of, these samatha topics are, very simple topics, not one that you have to generate a lot of perceptions around. It's kind of, okay, metta, you're just spreading metta to all beings. The 4 Brahma Viharas are like that. Breath can be like that. There's other ones, the kasinas are like that. So if one is cultivating samatha, then one doesn't want to be thinking too much, except in reference to, okay, is what I'm doing now good or bad for my meditation? Is it bringing me more calm or less calm? So there's one teacher who I really respect named Ajahn Thanissaro, and he says, okay, if you are meditating, concentrating on the breath, you kind of limit your thinking to, is this kind of breathing good or bad? Like, is it making my mind more or less calm? How should I breathe in order to make my mind calm down, in order to make my body feel at ease? And the type of thinking he also recommends is that, if you want to, say, change the way one is breathing, okay, let's make my breath more coarse. You don't generate a physical, I guess you call it like a physical fabrication. Like, okay, you just put the thought in the mind, more coarse, and then let the breath become more, more coarse or deeper or longer or whatever it might be. I guess maybe not more coarse isn't the right word, but deeper, longer, shallower, as on its own. It's kind of on its own kind of intuition. And so in this way, the thinking is kind of directed towards a purpose. Kind of is directed. Maybe that could be taken under directed thought. Kind of just directed towards making the breath more calm. And then as one progresses, wants to kind of refine that and cut successive layers of thinking and perception and make the mind more and more and more still, more and more still. And so this type of meditation is good for countering certain types of defilements, but is not the only possibility. And again, it mixes in with thinking in certain ways. The other type of broad category of meditation is, we could broadly call, I guess, vipassana. They're kind of qualities of mind, but more, I guess, maybe sanya, or a perception-based meditation would be a better word, because in the canon, the Buddha calls these types of meditations sanya. So you have like the perception of death, you have the perception of impermanence, you have the perception of not self, and these types of perceptions are things that we bring up to counter certain defilements that arise. So usually a person kind of might go through their life and, various types of negative mind states can come up based on, say, like the perception of permanence. Okay, like this kind of job is mine forever. Kind of person thinks that way. It kind of thinks this is who they really are. This job is part of their abilities. Their abilities belong to them. Then what can happen is they focus their whole life, say, on like their job, their house, their car, their kids, whatever it might be. And then when those things change, they suffer big time. Kind of like they've put all their weight on that. It's kind of like, you like to use this example of somebody going way out to the edge of a tree branch and, standing right on the edge of the tree branch. Okay, if that branch cracks at the edge, the person falls to the ground. But if a person stays close to the trunk, if that branch cracks, they have a safe place to hang on to. And so in the same way, when one cultivates this perception of impermanence over and over again, everything is impermanent, all these things that I love will be separated from me, it turns one's mind away from seeking a refuge in those things towards seeking a refuge inside. Kind of some other perceptions very helpful too, like perception of mindfulness of death. Oftentimes a person can get caught up in doing various things that are fun or whatever, but might not really be all that important. So you hear these stories about people who find out they have like 6 months to live, and then they reorganize their life to do all the most important things. And that's, I guess, good. That's a good thing to do. But we don't have to wait until we get that news and can start cultivating this perception of death. I'm going to die. What's really important for me to do? And the answer that comes back is, well, I have to, I should cultivate virtues. I should make my mind strong, because this karma that I make, that's going to go with me. All the houses and cars or whatever it might be, those don't go. And so when cultivating these types of meditation, mindfulness of death, all these various types, then one wants to do a lot more thinking. This is a perception-based meditation. We're trying to generate perceptions in the mind that go against the usual default perceptions. Everything is impermanent. My family is impermanent. My health is permanent. So everything is permanent. My family is permanent. My health is permanent. These kind of default background perceptions that can cause a person to suffer a lot. Or, these abilities that I have are mine. They belong to me. They're part of who I really am. And then, they change, a person suffers. So one cultivates these perceptions that go opposite them. It directs a person's mind towards trying to find a real refuge, kind of a safe refuge. And that's for long-term benefit and happiness. So, of course, the ability to do this actually depends on a measure of calm as well. So, if a person's mind is not really super, if it doesn't have if it isn't, say, calm enough, if one can't make one's mind, I guess the right way to say it might be, if one can't make one's mind stay on that cultivation of that perception, then what'll tend to happen is one will just end up thinking about all kinds of random things. Whenever, start thinking, trying to cultivate the perception of impermanence, next thing you know, a person's thinking about, maybe grocery shopping or what's going to happen, in 10 years or 5 years or whatever, instead of cultivating this perception. So these perception meditations also rely on a certain measure of what you might call samatha, which is generally why the teachers recommend to cultivate them first. But having said that, there's an important sutta where the Buddha says that there's some people who cultivate insight, or this kind of vipassana style, followed by calm. Some people cultivate calm followed by insight. Some people cultivate them both step by step. And then some people, their minds are just all agitated, and they then finally a way opens up for them and they follow that way. So in other words, there's no hard and fast rule about how much thinking one should do. If one wants to cultivate samatha, eventually we want to have all these qualities in our mind. But for a person to know what's right for them at that time in their practice, they have to have an idea of what kind of defilements they have, and then get to experimenting with the types of meditation that seem to make them lessen. And then in general, one just keeps at that type of meditation, keeps trying to find different, better ways to do it until it feels like, time to maybe focus on a new topic, to go at a new angle. And one can usually tell this when it feels like maybe it's not, generating the same, level of calm. It's not kind of having the same effect on the defilements. It's kind of similar to when a person's doing like a stretch, say, like a yoga stretch or whatever it is. You keep doing that one stretch, it kind of reaches a point where it doesn't seem that effective. But then often if you do another stretch that hits a different area of the body, that first stretch will somehow become more effective again. It's almost like there's all these tendons that are holding, that stretch kind of stretches out, gets rid of the tension in a certain amount of tendons, but then there's a whole bunch, maybe in another part of the body, that are preventing it from going further. So if one releases those, then one can go back to that. And so in the same way, it's not a totally clear roadmap that you can just plot out for everybody. Everybody has their own defilements, but the nice thing is one tends to know, I've got, this is the biggest defilement in my mind. And then choosing an appropriate meditation topic, choosing an appropriate way to go, finding out how to do that. But in general, when one wants to cultivate this calm, okay, less thinking. You're going to try to make the mind more and more still. When one wants to cultivate these kind of vipassana style or insight style, sanya style meditations, okay, one has to think them. We're trying to generate perceptions to counter our usual perceptions. And we don't have to choose. We can do, usually a person will have like one or two main topics that they focus on. Sometimes one, most of the time they meditate, they might be doing breath, but then they also cultivate the perception of death, say, or the perception of the unattractiveness of the body. So it's not something that there's a hard and a fast rule for, but something that one learns to gauge. What am I doing? Is it decreasing the amount of defilements in my mind? Is it raising the wholesome qualities in my mind? So in this way, the amount of thinking one does depends on what one's trying to cultivate. And the amount of thinking one does, whether it's good or bad, depends whether it's increasing or decreasing one's defilements. But in general, with meditation, when we practice, we want to gain a basis in making our minds calm. That's very important. So in general, when we first start, the instructions that we get are going to be to, okay, when we're sitting formally in meditation, try not to think too much. Just make the mind focus in on the meditation object, and whatever thoughts come up, if they're related to making that meditation object deeper, or making the mind more calm, they're relevant. If they're not, they're irrelevant. So those are some thoughts on thinking. So basically no hard and fast rule. It just depends on whether it's increasing or decreasing the defilements in the mind. But in general, with meditation, especially at the beginning, we want to cultivate this calm, this kind of ability to make the mind stop thinking. So those are some thoughts for today, and hope that everybody has a great day, and wishing you all the best till next time.